I have friends who were born and raised in the basin who left the basin mostly because of the air quality. They felt like the air quality was not good for them and for their kids. I'm 67 years old, and I've spent my entire adult life in the Intermountain West. And inversions are very common in our mountain valleys. And it means that normally, when you go up, the temperature declines as you ascend into the air. It's just the way things are. Except sometimes out west, you have like a barrier where the temperature is a certain temperature as you rise, and then all of a sudden it gets warmer. And there's like a ceiling put over the air below, and the cold air below cannot escape. So anything that's emitted into that enclosed airspace stays there. The pollution just accumulates. In a bad winter, you can look over towards Split Mountain, which is to the east of us, and you'll see like the bottom half of it is obscured by this layer of gunk. And you may be able to see the mountain dimly through it, but clearly it's like, oh my gosh, I'm breathing that stuff. You know, the local politicians sometimes blame problems like methane or smog on the inversions, but that's not really correct. The inversions just corral the emissions and concentrate them where we live. If a storm system blows through and disrupts those weather conditions, you no longer are breathing that, but somebody is. Somebody downwind is breathing it, just disperses it and blows it someplace else. The Uintah Basin is one of the biggest methane plumes in the United States. I mean, you can document that something like 2 to 6% of the methane that's being captured for industry is leaking and is going into the atmosphere. This has been an energy county forever. People's paychecks have come from the energy sector, and people rally around the energy sector instinctively. And climate change is not something they see as it's not favorable to their futures and to the futures of their families. My sense of how God runs the universe is that God is only partly under control. And as a Mormon, you would think of this in terms of agency, that God has handed over at least some of the reins to human beings to do the right thing. And God may be in control, but if I see somebody being assaulted on the other side of the street, doesn't mean that I can go whistling past and say, well, God's going to take care of that. God expects people to do what they can to stand with the angels, you know, and they're stewards. I mean, we were supposed to take care of the garden. We in the Uintah Basin, we're at ground zero. We're in the center of the storm because all predictions are that the Colorado River plateau is going to get hard with climate change. And you know, there's predictions that our temperatures may be like 9 degrees higher by the time the turn of the century comes around, which means Vernal is going to be like Tucson, Arizona, if those are correct projections. But at the same time, it's a community that is heavily dependent on the industry that's contributing to all this. So what the people in the Uintah Basin decide to do may be a prototype for what coal miners decide to do in Australia, and you know, all the different communities around the earth. If they all decide in favor of their local parochial interests against their global interests, you know, but that's going to be a big part of what happens with this whole energy and climate change thing.